Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 11th school board meeting. We're going to open with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. Good job. Esta junta se lleva a cabo en inglés, pero contamos con servicio de traducción. Si alguien gustar hacer un comentario público o recibir explicaciones en español, por favor, indique su necesidad. All right, we will now work through the agenda. Board, are there any proposed changes to or modifications to the agenda? All right, hearing none, I will now move on to the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda were sent to the board and posted online last week. The board has had the opportunity to review the materials and ask the superintendent any questions they have had about any items on the consent agenda. The consent agenda for this meeting includes minutes for the 1/27/25 workshop and the January 28th, 25 regular board meeting, vouchers and payroll, personnel report, surplus report, contracts, and field trips. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
All right, it has been moved by Martin and seconded by Miranda. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of adopting the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
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 All right, none opposed, motion carries. All right, we'll now move on to citizen comments. If any members of the public would like to make a comment, please sign up online 15 minutes before the meeting or complete a citizen comment form. Forms are available at the room's entrance and should be turned into the board secretary, Kim White. Unless translation is required, each comment is limited to 3 minutes. Ms. White will keep a timer that will notify you when your time expires. Individuals that need translation or interpretation will be given 4 minutes to make the comment, plus the time needed to complete translation. Please be aware that the board's role is to receive comments. It will not respond to questions or challenges, and the board silence does not signal agreement or endorsement of the speaker's remarks. Kim, do we have any comments?
Yes, Mike Roberts.
All right, Mike.
Thank you. My name is Mike Roberts. I'm the owner of Roberts Construction, a local land developer and builder in the Valley. Born and raised in the Valley. Reaching out to the school board regarding property at the top of Springwater. Right now, we are currently developing a piece of property that is 20 acres right across the street from a 68-acre land piece that the school board owns. The 68 acres is broken up into 3 different sections. It's currently zoned residential right now, and it's broken up between the irrigation canal and then a proposed future road that would tie Springwater and Maple Street together. Reaching out to the school board of any possibility of land sales, looking for possibly a ballpark, because it's all under one parcel right now of 68 acres. We don't really know exactly how large the lower piece is. We think it's approximately about 20 acres, which is what we are currently developing right now. We can get probably 60 to 65 houses built on there, which is basically exactly what we're doing across the street. It's been vacant for quite some time. I don't know of any future plans or anything like that. But it also, with property taxes and stuff, it puts approximately $300,000 to $350,000 back into the community, with property taxes for homes and things like that could put back into the Valley. So anyway, just reaching out to the school board about possibilities of land sales and making it useful for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, looks like that's it. So I will turn it over to Corey for special presentations.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Since September, we have been utilizing our board meetings to showcase awesome levy programs that help create a student experience in the Wenatchee School District. And tonight we have the good fortune of having our Foothills Middle School VEX Robotics team, or a portion of the team. Is that right? Most of the team, some of the team, all the team? Okay, good deal. Thanks for being here, everyone. We're excited. They're gonna discuss and share a little bit about their program, and Bridget has her team here as well. So welcome, everybody, and come on and tell us about VEX Robotics. It's a good-looking group here. I like it.
Thank you so much for having us. I'm going to turn everything over to the students here in just a second, but just a really quick history. About 10 years ago, Central Washington University provided their Gear Up grant, and that's how the program actually got started. And after many years of hard work, we were able to start receiving those levy dollars and start working with CTE. And so now we are on our 10th year of this program. We've got kids who have moved on to aerospace engineering, pre-med. They're at the computer science school, UW. It's benefited children in so many ways, but nobody wants to hear me talk tonight. So I'm going to have the kids come up and talk to you. So you guys head up all the way up and just go talk to them and make this as just over there. Just go have as casual as possible. I'm turning it over to you guys. Casual. Go for it.
So it's so it's a student-centered program that is meant to teach kids about like leadership and how to be a member of a team, and also about the engineering design process, and a bunch of other fun stuff about building a robot. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Avantika, and I'm going to be talking about why VEX IQ is important. VEX IQ is important because it helps lead us to Project Lead the Way, which is a program offered in our tech classes. Through VEX IQ, I have learned many soft and hard skills. Some soft skills I've learned are collaboration, communication, time management, problem solving, and leadership. These soft skills will help me a lot when I'm older. Some hard skills I've learned with robotics are building, designing, and programming. The programming that VEX IQ offers is blocks programming, which will help lead to Python programming later on. Now I'm going to talk about engineering and the engineering design process. The engineering design process is a documentation process used to show the progression of robots and coding throughout the season. Because we followed the engineering design process properly, our team got 3 design awards, and 2 of which allowed us to go to the state tournament. The engineering design process has had an impact on me because it has helped me look into careers related to STEM, such as aerodynamics, medical sciences, computer data, and so much more. I started off in the Devo program, which has taught me so much in the past year.
Hi, I'm Nate, and I've also started at the Devo program 3 years ago. I am an 8th grader at Foothills, and throughout the years, I have learned how to build a robot successfully and be able to continue throughout the years. Our first robots usually start with a small robot to learn how to program and understand how to build bigger and better robots. Our robots also progress throughout the years because we understand how to the game a little bit more. This year's game is our goal is to shoot the ball into a goal wall with 4 blue targets that we would like to hit with the ball. Our robots that I have built have been able to get to state this year, and it has been able to help us a lot.
So I'm Teddy. I've done robotics VEX IQ for 3 years now. I've been to the state championship all 3 years. I've also been qualified for the World Championship twice. I've gone to the World Championship in Dallas once in my 6th grade year. So Vex has had a big impact on me in terms of like soft and hard skills. In terms of soft skills, it's taught me two major things, and that's sportsmanship and problem solving. With problem solving, it's been used for like overcoming obstacles because I've faced a lot of obstacles on my journey, and I've learned how to like adapt and overcome these obstacles. For sportsmanship, I've also like developed that a lot. Just going to more competitions, I've like learned how to be more respectful and like adapt my sportsmanship. Going to the World Championship in Dallas, it's also taught me a lot. It's really opened my mind because there's a lot of different teams from a lot of countries all over the world. So it's opened my eyes up to like a lot of different opportunities all around the world. Oh, I'll show the awards first.
Our team has gotten 4 awards. We've gotten 1 teamwork award and 3 design awards.
So the design award is based off of our interview, but it's also based off of our notebook. So it's a hard copy version of our notebook. Sorry.
Oh, you're good? Yeah.
These are just a few pages that we've written about like our robot and the development of it through the engineering design process. So we started this in about October. We started this in October, and we're still adding to it right now because we've qualified for a state
Yeah.
championship. So we're still adding to it right now.
Beautiful. Looks well done.
Can you tell us a little bit about your robots as we get the opportunity to play with them? Yeah.
So the way the robot works, when you hold the controller, if you want to drive forward, you have to move both the joysticks up. And then if you want to drive, yeah.
Yeah. We don't drive on tables. Yeah.
So to move the robot forward, both joysticks go up. And then to move the robot backward, both joysticks go down. And then to turn, one joystick goes up and the other one goes down. And then you can do it the other way for counterclockwise. These are just base bots, and then from base bots you can evolve into competition robots, which we will use in the competition season.
So what's the difference between these and your competition robot?
Competition robots have a lot more subsystems on them. Subsystems are basically stuff like claws, intake mechanisms.
Is this one of your current competition pieces?
We use this for a portion of for most of our beginning season, and then we evolved to a bigger robot which can score goals more efficiently.
Yeah, I was able to. Here you go. I was able to see, I don't know if they were these exact bots in action at Foothills a couple weekends ago, but it was pretty amazing to be able to see just the turning radius and how they scoop up the ball and then they'll shoot the ball. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, quite intricate. Thanks for showing us all of those. Gee, Merry Christmas.
So how long does it take you guys to build something like this?
How long does it take to build that?
So the controllers so if you guys want to, you guys can also drive these ones. So
Brave, you're brave. I just heard don't do it on the table. I was like, I don't know. I don't want to do it from.
So yeah. Oh yeah, that's the controller for that one. Yeah, I can set the robot up for you.
I'm gonna fight you for it.
No.
Yeah, okay.
That's good.
So
I'm gonna go
if you-
forward.
Look at you.
Run away from you.
Okay, I'll come see what it is. Hiding.
I don't want to hog the robot.
Yeah, mine's coming back to see us. But I'm.
Oh, here, I can move it more out. Oh.
Maria? Oh, I'm good on that.
I'm giving this to you, Maria. You're gonna have to drive it from there on out. All right. It's fine.
So I don't understand correctly, you guys, every year there's a different competition. And so you have to design a new robot for whatever the new problem is to solve. So you can't just use your robot from last year and do it better.
And each year, do you have a different, I call it theme or purpose in what your competitive robots are supposed to do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
What
so.
was this one, this year's?
So this year's objective, the main objective is there's a goal and you have to continuously score balls into the goal, but the goal's like elevated off the floor. So it's
So this year it's called Rise Above, which no, not Rapid Relay, which means that there will be 4 goals, a 4-goal wall. And this year the design of the robot is a catapult. So this will go down, which will then have a ball. And then we will release it into in a way that it will launch it into one of the 4 goals on the wall, which will go. So we'll just go like that and then yeah.
Sorry.
So then it will launch the ball into the goals. You can also pass by having one ball launch into another robot, because we have alliance partners where we team up with another team to make the most goals as possible. And you can do it by like bumping one robot and using a robot and bumping the ball to another robot, which will count as a pass, which multiplies the amount of points you get for each goal you scored. You wanna?
Picture of the field.
Nice, okay.
This one is humming, like it has some nitrous packets or something going on, which I like. Just wondering.
So the humming is actually our pneumatic air tanks. Because it's not CO2, it's just pumping the air outside. So it has to continuously pump it. So that way we always have air to like support pneumatics so they can retract and extend.
Do you guys know how to do tricks on these? Like a wheelie or? No volunteers?
I guess my last question for all of you is that what makes you so excited or makes you motivated about being on the robotics team at Foothills?
Give it to Micah. I think the thing that motivates me the most is just kind of learning how different parts work and kind of getting to collaborate with other people. I think it's really interesting and fun, and you build a lot of life skills over it, I think.
I enjoy going to robotics because, like Micah said, it's collaboration. I really love working with my team and just designing and adding to our robot. I think that it's just like the big community around Vex and like the robots. It's just really massive, and it's just like a whole community of just kids coming together to enjoy one thing, which is robotics. And I think that's really cool that can happen. Because
Well said. Excellent.
I enjoy just like tinkering with the robot and coding and, getting to know everybody. And it builds life skills and character. And overall, I think it's just a really, really great experience to have.
Got one question. You talked about the community. You're obviously a strong human community learning science and human skills. When you go to competitions, do you get to meet students and robotic experts from other schools? Then how much do you interact with them? And what fun is that?
Yeah, so at each competition, we if is like they're all from like different like cities, and like so we can be from Wenatchee, and then we could be alliance with another team from like Mattawa. So, and it's just like we can just meet new people like every single time. And if you win like at state, you get to go to world, where then you can meet a bunch of people from like around the world, like from Japan and India and places like that. So then you can be alliance and just like and like know about their culture, and it's just like a really big. So then you can meet a lot of people.
Yeah, I guess it's also cool that like a bunch of people from around the world are just like united to do robotics, you know? It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Thank you guys a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
This was great.
Thank you so much for being here this evening. Thank you, parents, for bringing everybody. We appreciate it. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you. All right. Get that humming thing going.
Oh, this week in your back.
Make sure all the robots have been accounted for and do a quick check, make sure nothing went under the board desk. Excellent. Great transition time here as we move to our next program and our students head home for the evening. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. Next up, we have our Earth Club presentation under the leadership of advisor Daniel Deal. Our Earth Club has partnered with local community organizations and the Wenatchee High School administration to begin a student-led waste management composting program. And you recently traveled to Olympia, right, to share the program with legislators. And we have Eva Philippi, right? Eva Philippi, thank you. Excellent. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. So I'm here to tell you about the compost program that I started last fall. Yep, there we go. Okay. I started this by calling Robette Schmidt, who manages Winton in Leavenworth, the compost facility. And she encouraged me to start or organize a waste audit. So we got some people together from Rotary and Earth Club and Winton and Sustainable NCW. And we sorted all the trash that accumulated after one lunch period at our school, at the high school. We found some interesting things. These are the results. So it was a total of 111 pounds of waste. 68% was compostable. I was not really thinking about compost when I started this, but it was a very high percentage and it was surprising to me. And also we found that only about 20% would actually go to the landfill if we were sorting all our waste into recycling and compost and trash, which is much smaller than what it was. After this audit, we decided to take action. So Winton and Rotary donated some 96-gallon bins and a collection service, which was really kind of them. And Earth Club purchased some indoor bins, some smaller ones with our reserved funds. We set up 8 stations in our cafeteria and 2 in the kitchen to collect food waste as people dump their trays and everything. And we set up volunteers to monitor the bins and teach students to sort their waste into compost and trash. That's been the biggest challenge, is teaching students what goes where. In a few months later, Winton donated a few more 96-gallon bins. So we are now collecting 2.5 yards a week, cubic yards. And I eventually convinced the custodians to take over compost duties, where they replace the bags and take the bags out to the trash bins. And we've since purchased 10 more bins. We've helped the school transition to reusable trays. Before, we were using disposable ones that they did go in the compost, but it was still unnecessary waste. So now we're using plastic ones. And we've done a second audit, and we just went to the Sustainability Summit. So we'll look at these a little more closely. Another thing that I did was reduce the amount of overall trash bins we were using in our cafeteria. There was about 25. You all probably been to the cafeteria. It's not super big, but there was a lot of trash bins. So I thought that they were using a lot of unnecessary plastic bags. So I took them and figured out how many we actually needed, which was about 8. And when we added the compost, took out a lot of the weight, which was a problem for the janitors. They didn't want to move around big, heavy trash bins. But now we have less trash bins in our cafeteria and more compost. So we're using, less petroleum plastic bags. And my conclusion of this is that a lot of schools could probably benefit from decreasing their amount of trash bins. They would use less plastic bags, and their custodians could be more efficient because they would only have to empty less bags and focus more on cleaning up spilled milk and stuff. This is some pictures of our waste collection. We have, these are what the sorting stations look like on the right, and the cost of each bin, which was pretty decent. The 96-gallon bins where we put our bags every day. On the left is our most recent development, which is where people can put their plastic trays. And we've condensed the eating area a little bit so people don't take their trays outside of the lunch area. And this is us on the right at Olympia a couple weeks ago. We talked to legislators about more education about sustainability in schools, and we collaborated with a lot of other projects from around the state that were also working on sustainability. One surprising thing that we learned there by taking a live audit at our convention was that a lot of the people that were sustainably conscious and there to support the environment actually didn't know how to compost either. And that's just the depth of the lack of education around compost. These are the results of our second waste audit, which we saw a lot of improvement in our contamination. So like how much compost is going in the trash still, how much trash is ending up in the compost. We do have people sorting the waste still at lunch and teaching people, but we found that our compost was only 1% contaminated on average, which Winton aims for about 5% contamination. So we're under that, and we know that our compost is being sent and being created into dirt. Unfortunately, about 25% of our compostable waste is still ending up in the trash because we can't catch every student as they throw their trash away. But it's better than the 70% that was there at the beginning. And about 10% of our waste is recyclable. So that's our next step, is getting a recycling system in our school. And some implications of this that we've improved and that students still need more education. Some community benefits of our compost program is that we're sending waste to the compost facility so it produces better soil for local farmers. Composted soil is 3 times better, more fertilizing than other soil. It supports a local sustainable industry. It reduces greenhouse gas emissions and lowers the trash cost for our school eventually because it'll be less frequent and a lower volume of trash being taken out. So this is what we need from the school district and the school board. I would like to get this project to be permanent in our school. I'm a senior, so I'm leaving this year, but I would like to leave this as my contribution. So what we need is some funding to get a regular subscription of composting. Like I said, Winton donated the initial bins, but in the future, to keep it going, we will need funding for the pickup. And also recycling. It is important because we have a lot of people bringing, you know, their energy drinks and their Dutch Bros into our school and they throw it away. They're in cans. They could be recycled. I think this is a well-worthy investment in sustainability at our school. It impacts students because they learn about the consequences of their waste and everything that they throw away. It causes them to be more mindful of what they're doing on a daily basis that impacts the environment. Right now, we're just at the high school, but I imagine that middle schools could do this. It's pretty simple. I mean, most businesses have a compost recycling program. So I think it's a very important thing for our school district. Thank you for listening. Any questions?
I do have a question. Eva, that was a great presentation. And before the question, I want to do two things. I'm prejudiced because I was one of the volunteers that helped you with the Rotary Club. And I want to, the question I want to ask is about how you handle or get inertia taken care of around you. But leading into it, you, the students, have approached this using logic and measurement. You've been courageous because you're student-led, and you've been looking at what we owe to future generations. Those are things that are highly admirable. I work with people who are interested in the sustainable world, and it was very difficult to get things to happen top down, and kind of reach the conclusion that student-led would be a really good thing to do. So you're dealing with students, will they put things in the right bin and will they like you? Dealing with staff, will you help them? The janitors make their job more efficient or easier? And you help what money and collaboration. Can you talk a little bit about the mood of the people around you and your fellow students who worked on this? How supportive they were, how you overcome any resistance?
Yeah, I've had to work with a lot of people to get this to happen, especially the custodians and the kitchen staff, which the custodians had a little resistance because they are understaffed and they have a lot of work on their plate already. But so I collaborated with them. I wanted to make it clear that it wouldn't be adding any more work to their day. It's actually less work because there's less trash bins, and as students are more mindful, they put their trash in the trash bin instead of on the floor, so they don't have to clean that up after. As for the kitchen staff, they have been really helpful and passionate about this. They care a lot about food waste because they're the ones preparing it every day. So they've been very willing to switch to reusable trays and just get everything set up in the cafeteria. Our principal, Mr. Anderson, has been really helpful. He helps us sort the waste pretty much every day that he's there. He's around with his little clamper thing, just picking things around, and it's very nice of him. And he's been communicating with Mr. Kalahar a bit, and yeah, just having open conversations with administration and staff has been really helpful. It's a little scary to go in and talk to them because they're big adults in charge, but I found that they're much nicer and more willing to help than a lot of students think.
Well, I have to say, lots of kudos. We have a similar initiative at the college ran by Joan Fossey. And even getting the adults to cooperate, with recycling waste and the compost is a challenge among adults. So kudos to you for trying to do it with young adults or young, teenagers, basically. I really, I mean, I commend you for the work you're doing in this initiative of leaving a better world for those that come after us. This request, I mean, I'll leave it to Sue, but I see a lot of return of investment in this request. You know, just simply the simple fact of reducing the number of garbage cans and the use of plastic bags seems to, you know, the cost involved in those versus the return on investment in providing the service. I see a lot of potential, and you've laid the foundation for the group of students that are going to come after you. I hope there's some, like Mr. Deal, I'm pretty sure you're recruiting hard to continue this work. So thank you. Thank you so much for what you're doing, not only for the school district, but our community and those that come after us.
Thank you.
I guess my question, or kind of went with what Maria was saying, is do you feel like there is a group of people who want to continue this work? Obviously, like having you in charge, it's easy to be supporting you and your mission. But like, as you said, as you graduate, do you feel like there's people that are willing to step up and kind of take over?
I hope so. I know of a few people that regularly help me sort compost during lunch, that some few underclassmen, and we'll be holding officer elections at the end of the year for Earth Clubs, and I'm hoping a few people will step up. Yeah.
Awesome. Great presentation, Eva. Thank you for being here. My question was, what were some of the major challenges throughout the process and the work? Was it getting the students to kind of follow the practice? Was it the teaching piece? Was it the collaboration with adults? What was the most challenging part of the process?
Yeah, there's definitely a variety of challenges, but the students, a lot of people that I have tried to work with have mentioned how the students are kind of hard to get to do anything, which is true. But I think it's something I found really helpful was just taking it to the personal level. Like, as people are throwing away their trash and they put it in the wrong thing, I just stop them and be like, hey, that actually goes over here. And they're really receptive to that. And I see them teaching their friends and other students and kind of like joking around like, hey, that's not compostable or whatever. And so it's spread that way. So I thought that would be more of a challenge, but it has been really nice to see that people are into that. I think the adults are a little harder to work with, honestly, because I mean, people say like people get stuck in their ways, and it's hard with especially with budget cuts and everything like that. People are stressed, and so especially staff, they have a lot on their plate. But they do come around, and obviously we've made a lot of progress. So I have hope, and I'm really happy about that. And yeah, I just think that the adults have more in them than they think they do. Actually, they come around and they are making strides. Mr. Anderson was the one that initiated the switch to plastic trays. And I feel like I kind of put it in his brain, but then he actually made the action. So that was really cool.
Well, I think you created a pilot program that could be implemented at our elementary levels, where you start at a young age to where it becomes just just a second nature to, you know, exactly what goes where. As opposed to trying to learn something, like you said, adults are a little bit more challenging. Even just trying to think, okay, what goes where? I think if we start with the younger generations, it'll be just second nature to just know what goes where.
Yeah, I've talked to other people that have started compost programs like this at elementary age, and yeah, younger kids are really adaptable to those things. They are just forming their habits, so they are really easy to teach. Right, thank you.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Excellent. All right. Thank you very much. We will move on to our next presentation, which will be I'm gonna be doing the first half of the presentation, and then Diana's gonna step in and help with the second half. So we're gonna be talking about our long range facilities committee. And look at that, we're ready to go. Thank you, back. Let's see here. Okay, whoa, I was going too fast. All right, so let's jump into this. Thank you, President Jackson and Board of Directors. We will jump into this presentation. I'm actually gonna start us off with some slides that were presented a little over a year ago as we started this process of pre-bond work. And so the next steps at that time were working through a request for qualifications for pre-bond work. As well as finalizing our survey and study of facilities, which we did finalize, and then beginning a facilities committee to guide the work as well. So I've got a slide for each of these. Yep. We're good. So moving through the bond planning steps is seeking a pre-bond firm to assist with the process from start to finish. And the reasons we have here is assisting in the facilitation of a citizens long-range facility committee to identify bond and capital project priorities based on the survey and study results. Number two, also this group would guide the long-range facilities planning team through the data, enrollment reports, and capacity planning to have the information necessary to build that long-range plan. And then also to help when the district asks taxpayers for dollars to fund the project, voters will reasonably ask questions like, do we really need this? Can we afford this? The role of those, the construction managers to work directly with our citizens and public information officers to provide facts that inform the public and to support the district by answering some of those tough questions that come about. Check. Got it. And then another next step that we have on here is completing and updating an updated study and survey. The main purpose of this work of the survey is to assist with identifying bond priorities and obtain updated information, which becomes a snapshot of the ICOS, or the Information and Condition of Schools program from OSPI. And it also helps us come up with a state match calculation. The last survey and study that we had done was February 2014, so it was time. They recommend that we do those every 6 years. And I think with COVID in the middle of everything, it took us 10 years to get to our next one. We did utilize OSPI grant dollars to conduct the survey and study of our facilities, which was completed in the fall of 2023, and the report was given to the board in the winter of 2024, about a year ago. Check. And you can see I scratched off the timeline there because we had made our way through all of that. And then the last one was then establish a facilities committee. So prioritizing the needs of the district with the study and survey, and then working with the long range facilities planning alongside that study and survey. And then serving as a liaison between the community and the district. And as we're coming to, because Diana will talk to us about some of the next steps with this group, finalizing a bond package or capital projects levy or whatever that long range facility planning looks like that will balance the needs of the district, but also take in mind what the community is willing to support. Check. Okay, and so one thing I want to bring to our attention here is that we do have a facilities committee website where we have all of the committee meetings schedule on there, as well as the documents and resources. And that is at wenatcheeschools.org/facilities committee. So that can all be found there. If you want to navigate to it from departments, I believe that it's listed under capital projects. Is that right, Diana? Facilities, okay. Right on. So I was just going to go through what we've done. And that's so just kind of summarize the meetings and what we've gone through so far. And then Diana's going to go through some of the surveys that came out of the pre-bond work and some of those survey results. And then we can hear from Tucker and Miranda on their experiences being part of that long-range facilities planning. So first of all, sharing the collective, our first meeting was March 2024. And we started with sharing that collective purpose of our work. And I've got a graphic that follows that we'll go through in just a second. And then also sharing out the outcome to build a long-range facilities plan for the community and the school district. And using the data reports that we had available to us, such as enrollment reports and projections, capacity analysis, and then conditions reports, both physical and functional. And then that first meeting, we also did a short committee survey as well. So here's what that purpose statement has looked like from the beginning, is bringing together a community representative committee to review data and information, and looking at all the documents that I just mentioned: enrollment, capacity utilization, program, physical, and functional programming there, and really defining facility needs as determined by the data in the program and prioritizing solutions. So this is the slide that we talk through with our group every time that we meet. We also then have a slide that walks us through some of the processes and the work that we're doing. So gathering data, sharing that data with the group, obtaining group input, and then processing the data as a team. And then ultimately the work that we're going to be working on the next 6 months is really building that long-range facilities master plan as we work to prioritize the short and long-term facility improvements. Okay, our next meeting was in April of 2024, where we reviewed some of the perception data that we got from the group in the March meeting. We also had Michael Coffey there from McDonald Miller, who the board has met, as he talked through the clean energy audit information for us and really told us about the massive scope of that work, shared some of the preliminary scoping assessments that really gives the surface level dive into the work, and then also talked about the investment grade audits, and of course, the importance of the district fines for noncompliance. You got to get that information out there. And then we spent some time in groups working on kind of what our goals would be with around the work and the clean energy audit information. A lot of this was very new information for our community members and even our school district staff members. And what they really wanted to see is there was a strong goal to have the district office or the school district complete an investment grade audit of Wenatchee High School at the time. And the good information that we have there, or the good news, is that the investment grade audit should be completed in March. So this is great. And it was fully funded through our local PUD. So that was one of the concerns as you're struggling to think about an investment grade audit when we're in a time of budget reductions. Where do those dollars come from? And so our local utility has come through and partnered with us in a great way, and we'll share a little bit more about that a few slides from now. Here's that perception data that I talked about from that we took from the March time. What are some of the strengths and some of the weaknesses in this Wenatchee School District at that time? And you can see, I hope you can see, I can see better on the screen than my computer. So the strengths here is strong programs and curriculum, great staff, great teachers, creating access and equity of access for all students, partnerships with the community organizations and businesses to support students. A strength and also a weakness, I think, is athletics on both sides. School board is a strength, so thank you very much. And I think I was in the meeting, so the superintendent was also a strength there. I don't think they could get away with it any other way. No.
All written in your handwriting?
Yes, yes, all of those. Yep. And then some of the weaknesses, as we know, in April of last year, we were working through some challenges with our budget reduction process, and how that all kind of rolled out. So district communication and community engagement kind of on both sides in some ways. The athletic director situation is we had a retiring athletic director, and we moved into a position where we've kind of combined that role with our high school principal. And then, of course, the weaknesses that we had right in front of us were the state of the facilities and our aging buildings. And then I think that one of the weaknesses that they talked about is delaying challenging decisions as well. So that came from that perception data, and we shared that back with the group. And Diana will then go into a little bit more detail on more of the community survey. This was just that facilities group survey. So it was just our own internal group. Here's another look at that information. So you can see that we the 40% area was our aging buildings. I really need to figure out how I'm going to read this here. And then we have 31% with regaining community trust, 25% there, quality education and curriculum, 20% with declining student enrollment. And these are what, in your opinion, is the most pressing need in the district today. Then you can see budget, student safety, the Columbia school closure, and then whatever that last, what is it?
No response.
No response. Yeah, there it is. I'm sorry. I can't. These are for distance. These are for not. And it's just, yeah. So thank you for bearing with me. Love it. Our next meeting was in June, where we reviewed some of our group feedback from the April meeting. We talked about school budgets. It was basically like that. The school budget 101 is how do school budgets work, and all the 5 self-balancing funds that we have there. We also talked about the difference between levies and bonds. As we worked through that, obviously we went through the levies are for learning and bonds are for building, which has been on repeat for the last few months here, which is great. We also described our usage and future plans for Columbia Elementary at that point. The decision had been made to close Columbia Elementary. And so we really wanted to, and a lot of our conversations during our facilities committee meetings just naturally gravitated that because it was the flavor of the conversation that was happening at the time. And so we just wanted to share what the district goals were and what will not happen or what would not happen to Columbia. And that helped our team kind of focus on the work at hand. We then spent some time in table groups as to asking the question, what other uses besides, an elementary school would, could we have at Columbia Elementary? And so the table group, they jumped into that work and gave us some feedback there. And let me see here. Okay, and then we jumped to our next meeting, October 19th. We shared some of the feedback from the group work on the Columbia Elementary question before. We came back then with this, Diana, the survey data was hot off the press. I remember we were meeting with critical data that day. And so we gave them a little bit of a snapshot of what that data looked like. And Diana will go over that.
We just had a very preliminary data, but we wanted to make sure we had it in time to share with this group. So it wasn't the complete data set, but it was enough that it would be helpful for the facilities group to review.
Perfect. We then spent the majority of our time that meeting talking about facilities, maintenance, repair, and renewal, also known as deferred maintenance plans. And then we had some table work where we asked folks to prioritize the top 5 most important areas in that deferred maintenance plan and had some great conversation there. This was a snapshot of the feedback that came from our Columbia Elementary conversation. So feedback on district goals of using Columbia Elementary to maintain and grow programming. These were some of the brainstormed pieces there. After school programming headquarters, parent classes, Valley Academy came up, community engagement, rent the building to generate revenue and additional early learning opportunities as well. And then we had some questions on like, how do we continue to honor Columbia's history? So that was a great conversation that we had at that time, and we reviewed that in the October meeting. And then our last meeting in January, we had a tour of the Wenatchee High School facilities. We focused on the CTE area. We then moved to the cafeteria and the kitchen, and then we went to the gym room and the locker area. And we spent some time debriefing that tour with the group. The tour ended up taking most of the meeting because it was kind of interesting for a lot of people. Either they had never been in there, or it had been a long time since they had been in there, or you were Amelia and you were there earlier that day as a student. So that was part of it as well. So then there was some community feedback on the maintenance side of things. And then we had some planning and discussion, and we had some work that we had planned for the group to do. And it ended up morphing into what felt like a needed kind of community conversation at that time. And so we just kind of went with it. And what I want to share is some of the celebrations and milestones that have come out of the work that we've had, the 11 months of work that we have done with this facilities group. And obviously completing the survey and study has been huge. Almost a year of the work with the Long Range Facilities Committee. But I really wanted to focus on celebrating and highlighting our partnership with the PUD, because it has been very substantial. You've heard from our AEM Energy Champions program. You know that group is currently working on saving the district thousands of dollars monthly on energy output. What we have talked about as a school board in my weekly communications with you, but I haven't shared with our community, is the district-wide lighting project, the LED lighting project that the PUD is funding 100%. So far, they've replaced all of the lights at Lewis and Clark Elementary, all of the lights at Foothills Middle School. They've replaced the outdoor lights at the Wenatchee High School track, and Newberry is next. And I say that is just the tip of the iceberg. They plan on going through each and every building in the school district and helping us have the most up-to-date, state-of-the-art, energy efficient lighting, which is really phenomenal. It's almost unheard of when I talk with other communities in the area on the partnership that we have with our utilities. So it's really cool. The fact that they have paid for 100% of the investment grade audit for the Wenatchee High School to the tune of $175,000 is amazing. And then they have supported us in our Department of Commerce Clean Building Performance Standards Grant, which was just turned in January 27th. And the request there from the Department of Commerce is $565,000 to help us get closer to where we need to be on those the clean energy audit standards and lessen those fines that we will encumber in time. So just a real celebration throughout the work. So yeah, just wanted to clarify that. Yeah. Any comments, questions, or celebrations from the first half of our presentation today? That's all, which was a ton of stuff. But yeah, any questions that I can answer or address?
Actually, Corey, I'd like to go back to your page 8, the purpose. And talk about what I think is the long-term picture. We want to be on the right playing field when we talk about capital investment and bonds. And I do know that in our professional consultants, we do have educational expertise coming in. But I think that when you talk about educational programs and functional adequacy, we really need to think about how education methods and technology are changing today versus 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Not guess too far ahead, and have what I call the delivery architecture for the schools and the way we want to teach. It's both the method and the technology, and that could change the architecture quite a lot. And also we talk about CTE and changes and knowledge. Listening to the robotics students from Foothills, and also the AEM project, strong stress on teamwork, working with human beings, and that kind of skill. They called it soft skills. I call it human skills. What are we doing in our content? I realize this is a little different from buildings needing maintenance, but I think we have to have that kind of background coming in. And then I've got another elephant that I think needs to be thought about at this stage, and this is what the educational year is going to be like. And again, I've just in the last week seen serious articles about the inadequacy of the year. That's a very long conversation for communities because it involves everybody, their vacations, their work, their patterns. It needs to be a lengthy conversation and a joint project. But I don't think there is much doubt that some improvement in our calendar will be beneficial in the long term. It's not going to happen quickly. And to the extent that that happens, and particularly whether you're working a little bit more at the end of summer or the beginning of summer, it can affect what your building and facility should be like. So I know that was kind of, I've said most of this before, but I think that that added dimension needs to be part of what the facilities committee and our consultants are looking at, not just looking narrowly and not going overboard and trying to be futurists, but thinking about the flexibility of a narrow look in terms of handling changing architecture of education, changing methods, and perhaps some changes in the school year.
Thank you, Martin. I appreciate that. Well said. Maria, any questions at this point? Because these two have lived.
Yeah, we're gonna talk later.
They've lived the dream. Okay, thank you, everyone. I appreciate the comments. And Diana is going to talk us through the facility survey's findings.
Let me get
Yep.
to my piece here. Here we go. All right. So yeah, the second half of the presentation is really about summarizing what ultimately was a 400-page report from the fall facilities survey that we did. So in the next, bundle of slides, we'll just be walking you through a high-level summary of what we heard, some of the themes from the 3 different kind of categories of individuals that participated in the survey, and then some recommended outcomes and kind of a summary of the outcomes that we did here. Like Corey talked about, the survey was part of the pre-bond proposal that our consultants, Turner, Townsend, and Heery put together. So it really was a key component of that. So not only did the district, work on studying our facilities, but we also needed to ask our community what their perceptions were of our facilities. What challenges did we currently face in an environment where we do need to make improvements to our facilities? This information, like Corey mentioned earlier, we gave a little bit of it to the facilities committee, but they're going to get all of it here very quickly. We wanted to make sure this was shared with you first and foremost. They'll have this information, though, as another piece of data in multiple data sets as they begin putting together, that 10-year long-range facilities plan for the district. And ultimately, that will come to you as a board with a recommendation of how we're going to go about accomplishing the improvements that we know need to be made here in the district. All right. So let's jump right into it. Again, the goal of the survey, and this happened last fall, was to really understand our community's perceptions. And we were coming into a school year after ending a school year that was quite difficult for us, specifically around facilities with the closure of Columbia. And we know that there was a lot of concerns from the community going into the school year. And you'll note that many of those concerns are reflected in the survey data. But again, meant to identify concerns and really allow us to have a list of what some of those critical issues were so that we could use that in our planning and our thinking. Part of that planning too had to do with knowing we needed to replace our EP&O levy today. Today is election day, but knowing that that was coming and utilizing the survey as an opportunity for us to collect valuable input from voters, from our community on what information they needed to be able to feel confident and comfortable with a yes vote for a future ballot measure, whether that be the replacement levy or a future bond or a capital projects bond. The method that we used for the survey was actually twofold.
It was an online survey that was open to community members as well as parents and guardians. And then there were 40 phone interviews that were conducted by a list or through a list of community leaders here in the Valley. So it was kind of a two-part study. And the study was conducted by a group that's associated with Turner Townsend and Erie Critical Data. And again, they made those phone calls after we gave them a list of individuals to call, and then also put together the survey, which was conducted in English and Spanish. So here's just a summary of our survey participation. We had 1,217 individuals participate in the survey. It should be noted that this was the largest sample size that Critical Data has ever had in a community similar to us, and even in larger communities. They've worked in other large metropolitan communities and have not had the same percentage of input in their surveys. So they were blown away when they showed us the preliminary numbers. But I think it just really goes to show you the community's interest, our stakeholders' interest in providing input to the district and being part of what makes Wenatchee School District great. So a summary of the numbers: 803 parents and guardians participated, 374 community residents, and then those 40 individual community members that we talked to over the phone. It was conducted in English and Spanish, that online survey, and about 10% of the surveys completed were returned in Spanish. So some key findings. So these are kind of the big ideas, but one of the dominant concerns that came from all three of those individual groups in this study was that the community's concern about financial management, and then also the district's need for transparency. You're going to see a lot of things that we know, but the survey also helped us validate those concerns and also helped us develop a plan for how we were going to improve on some of the areas where concerns were identified. Importance of issues. The study asked participants to rate the importance of several issues facing the district that we knew of. 7 of the 8 issues that we asked people to rate on a scale of 1 to 5 were ranked 4. So they really felt that there was widespread concern on a handful of issues, and I'm going to show you what those are here in just a second. So I'll be listing all of the issues that came up through the survey on that 1 to 5 ranking scale in order of importance. The number one thing that all 3 of the groups said or had indicated as the number one challenge was safety and security. The second one was making improvements to old and failing school buildings and equipment. And then the third, preparing students for meaningful careers. So of the 3 groups, consistently, they all said these were the 3 top areas that we needed to address as a district. Additional areas that were also ranked, and this kind of goes along with preparing students for meaningful careers, is preparing them for post-secondary, for 2-year and 4-year and technical education after high school, funding for schools, recognizing that's a challenge, building trust, and then also creating and sustaining partnerships between family and community members and schools. So those were the top 7 things that across all 3 of the groups really rose to the top and that were ranked up there close to 5. The opportunity for us to ask questions prior to going into a campaign to replace the EP&O levy was a really opportune moment for us to find out what stakeholders needed to know so that we could prepare communication to answer a lot of those questions that they may have and also help educate our community. We know that there's a lot of confusion between what's a bond and what's a levy. Like Corey said, levies are for learning, bonds are for building. And so we knew that going into the replacement levy campaign, we needed to make sure we were doing education around that. And much of what came out of this survey, because we did get the results in late November, we were able to use to craft our communication and ensure that we were getting people the information they needed to make a decision on the ballot measure. So we do know that there is a significant lack of understanding between what's a bond and what's a levy. So we have to continue that work as we move forward with future bonds and levies that we need to continue to educate our community. Only 29.6% of the respondents in the survey felt that they had a thorough understanding of what the difference was between those two. 30.5% had little to no understanding of what the difference is between a bond and a levy. There was widespread agreement, though, however, on 4 key areas that everybody felt that the most important things that they needed to know as it related to either one of those things, a bond or a levy, was how the money was going to be spent. This was the most common request out of all 3 of the groups. They also wanted to know what was the direct impact on students? What did that look like in the classroom if the levy didn't pass, if a bond didn't pass, what would the impact be on students? They also wanted to know why the money was necessary. Where does the funding come from? Does it come from local tax dollars? Why isn't it being funded by the state? There were a number of people that felt that that was really important to clarify. And then also, what is the ultimate effect on my taxes? We all want to know, what's that going to look like in terms of our pocketbooks? How's that going to affect us? We actually took these same exact questions from the survey to craft our communication. This is just one example of our bond flyer, or excuse me, our levy flyer. I know what the difference between a bond and a levy is, I promise. But even in this flyer, we use the same language of, why is a levy needed? What does the levy pay for? How are the levy dollars spent, and giving and being transparent with our community of exactly how we allocate those dollars with percentages and dollar amounts and the different categories or departments in which those levy dollars flow to. What happens if the levy doesn't pass? What is that impact? And then what will the levy cost? So we really use this information directly from our stakeholders to help craft our communication as it relates to the levy. And we'll continue to do so as we look at future capital project needs. Another area that we heard as part of the survey, and we wanted to get a little more feedback on, was community engagement. And we know that there are 3 different groups that we were surveying, and they have 3 different levels of engagement. You can probably guess that parents had the highest degree of engagement with the school district. So within the last 2 weeks in which we surveyed individuals, 96.9% of parents said they'd engaged with the school district or their child's school in some way. In contrast, we know our community is engaging less frequently. Only 6.1% of residents had engaged with the school district within a 2-week period. And 48 residents that completed the survey said they had never engaged with the Wenatchee School District before. So just to give you kind of a sense of the engagement level and then the feedback that was provided. Of all 3 of the groups, though, we did hear that people wanted more town hall style opportunities to have dialogue. They wanted community feedback sessions, and they also wanted, again, more of a focus on that transparency and collaboration with our community. Just like in the classroom, we asked our community to give Wenatchee School District a letter grade. And we had done this a number of years ago as well with a survey with a prior superintendent. And overall, the sentiment towards the district is mixed. And again, this was in the fall, with a majority of respondents giving the district a C letter grade, so average. 42.1% of parents and guardians and 34.2% of residents gave the district a C grade. 50% of the community leaders surveyed gave the district a C. But there were significant portions of all of the respondent groups that graded the district with a D or an F, indicating some dissatisfaction. Comments about the letter F grade typically cited financial mismanagement concerns about a lack of transparency, and feelings of a loss of trust. Financial transparency, again, as you can see, has been a concern and one that we know about and are working hard to make sure that we're addressing. But across all of the groups, again, there was just that demand for more accountability, more transparency, particularly regarding how we allocate funds. The chart that I have on this slide is actually a sample from our levy information that we shared. So instead of a kind of a list, we actually created a pie chart so people could see visually, I'm a visual learner, how those dollars are allocated within the district. So we tried to be really deliberate in making sure people knew how those levy dollars were allocated, because we heard them on the survey and wanted to make sure that information was available. They also wanted to make sure that we're demonstrating how we are effectively managing our funds and making wise financial decisions. And this is going to be really important as we look towards a future bond or a future levy. They want to have confidence in those financial decisions that we're making for the district. So that was really important for them in terms of supporting a future levy or bond campaign. So I'm going to break down the 3 groups and just summarize some of the findings from each individual group to give you a sense. Community leaders, have my little yellow pencil up there. Again, they're a medium engagement group, so they've connected with the district, but not as high as a parent and not quite as low as a community member. Their primary concerns for the district at this time were trust building and preparing students for careers. Those were the top concerns for this group. They rated funding for schools as one of the highest areas. It was rated extremely important by 57.5% of community leaders. Building trust with community was also another area where they rated extremely high. Information that they needed, and this should come as no surprise, was how the money is going to be spent. So that was really critical for them. How are my dollars going to be spent in the district? And then half of the community leaders interviewed, again, graded the district with a C. Parents and guardians, on the other hand, we know have a very high engagement rate with our schools. Like I said, 96.9% of parents had engaged with the district in the last 2 weeks of taking the survey. Their highest concerns were safety, funding, and preparing students for those meaningful careers, and also building trust was on the top of their priority list. Parents and guardians primarily wanted to know, in terms of information, how their money was going to be spent as well. So there's a theme there. Parents gave us a C. So many had expressed some frustration with the recent financial challenges that the district was up against. And again, we're calling for greater transparency. Specific issues cited by our parent and guardian group were concerns about teachers' personal views, staff time off, class time, class size, facilities, our athletic program strength, district's reputation, and part-time athletic director. Again, these are important things. We want to make sure people know that they were heard and that these were noted. Throughout the survey, we had an open-ended question at the very end for people to share any thoughts that they wanted to with us. And we have, well, I said 400 pages of the survey. Of those 400 pages, there's at least 250 that are dedicated to just verbatims where the community could share their thoughts with us. So again, we want to make sure that we're being honest and transparent about what we heard from our community. And those were some of the issues that our parents had expressed through that process. Community residents, so again, a low level of engagement, some of which were not engaged at all or hadn't connected with the district in any way. But similar to parents and guardians, they had concerns about safety. They also were concerned about funding and career preparation and community trust. They also wanted to know how are the dollars going to be spent before they would feel comfortable supporting a future bond or levy. And many residents, again, also gave the district a C letter grade, reflecting just a general sense of being average. And specific things that this group said, they expressed the need for smaller bonds based on a priority of needs and for community meetings at each school. Other issues that were raised by this group were metal detectors in schools, the need for curriculum to be shared with parents, the concern that the money doesn't follow a child, and that there's declining enrollment, a recent school closure, and a need for improvement. So in summary, the study had a large participation rate, as I mentioned before, really indicating the community's genuine concern and connection with the district. So that's really a positive. People wanted to give us feedback, and the survey was an avenue for them to do that. The community we know has concerns about the district's finances and transparency. All are things that we are working hard to address. There's also a need to build trust in the community, and something that we're working towards every day. Community members want to know how those dollars are going to be spent. That's going to continue to be so important in our work moving forward, and that many community members feel that the current leadership is working to make improvements, but we still have more work to do. So recommendations that came out of the survey was Number one, we need to address and update our aging facilities, especially Wenatchee High School. Improving communication and transparency with the community regarding all issues, including budget and decision-making. One thing that we have just implemented as it relates to budget, finances, and transparency is our superintendent budget bites, trying to shrink down the amount of information in bite-sized pieces and getting that out at a regular pace to our community so that they can feel knowledgeable about the budget or any other issues that we have, but we're going to continue to do those budget bites so that we continue to keep our community informed about the budget process and budget steps that the district is taking to keep them informed. We've had good feedback on that, and we're looking for innovative and creative strategies to reach people where they're at through the communication vehicles that work best for them. Also developing a clear plan for how a bond or a levy monies would be spent, and focusing again on that student impact. So what does that look like in the classroom? What does that look like for our students? Focusing on trust building in the community, and then also take action on the feedback that we received and show that the district values the community's input and is committed to making improvements. And that's exactly what we're doing with this information, and we'll continue to do. And then last but certainly not least, continue to highlight the positive things that are happening within our district. So there are great things. We had several wonderful examples of great programming that we have and opportunities for our students. So they want to see more of that. So continuing to do that work is going to be important and was validated through the survey. So again, the next steps for the facilities planning team is we will share the complete data set with the facilities committee so they can use that as one more piece of the data as they begin to formulate a recommendation on how we will be addressing future facilities. So that's coming next. We do have this information. Sorry, I didn't advance my slide. We do have this information available too on our facilities website, as Corey mentioned early on, and we'll continue to keep that updated so our community, our parents, and the public can keep tabs on what's going on with the budget committee, or excuse me, the facilities committee, as well as our work with the long range facilities proposal that will be coming to the board, hopefully sometime in the next several months. So with that, that's my last slide. So questions about the survey that I could answer for you?
I have no questions, but I'm very glad you did it, and it was that deep, and impressed at the number of people who responded.
I feel like there was some trends they could talk about for the information needs, what people wanted for, no, I'm kidding. That's.
They want to know how the money is going to be spent. That is our mantra. If we're not doing that well, then we have work to do. So
no, that was great. Thank you.
yeah, and I think for me as communications team, putting these things together, this was really important and was a great starting point as we began looking at what information we were going to share, how we were going to be putting together our flyers and mailers for the levy, and will be helpful again as we move forward in a bond or a future capital projects levy to ensure that we're continuing to hit those marks, because those are the things that people, all three categories, repeatedly said that they needed to know. So that was validating, but also reassuring that in our communication, we were hitting those questions and giving them the answers that they needed.
Well, and I would say that in this levy work, you've done a really good job of saying, this is what is funded by the levy. This is where the money goes, not just in terms of the, stuff we're putting on the web and, mailers and stuff, but also in the board meetings, right? Like even today, this is where that money goes.
Yeah, and I have to give a big shout out to our CFO, Sean Fitzgerald, who has been my partner in doing a lot of this work when we do get requests from people that want maybe a little more granular information than what we do have on the website. He's been able to produce that information very quickly and make sure that we get that back to people to answer those questions that they do have. So again, that goes on the transparency trend. We want to continue to make that information available, but also consumable and not overwhelming. So it's finding a healthy balance there, but letting our community know that we're here for them and we're here to answer the questions that they do have to make sure that they feel confident in going to the ballot box. I wasn't going to say anything, but
Thank you, Diana. This is great information. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Corey. This is great work to, it's good information. It's a little bit hard to digest, because we want our facilities, we want our buildings, we want our instruction to be, at the top end of everything. And so this is some really good raw information. I think we're moving in the right direction. Our district has gone through a lot of challenges in the last 5 to 8 years. With the transition of superintendents, the whole financial stuff, which has led us to where we are now. Thank you to Superintendent Kelleher. I feel like the steps that the district has taken, the leadership team has taken, is on the right direction to address these concerns. And we as a board will continue to assess and reassess the direction with the fiduciary issue concerns, the transparency. And this is kudos to the team, to your cabinet team. Yeah, good work. Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Diana. I appreciate that. Thank you, board members. The next item on our agenda is just a levy election night. I just wanted to say some words. Thank you so much. Okay, I love it. Just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the hard work and dedication that has gone into our replacement levy this year. And to our community, I want to thank them for taking the time and the energy to learn the pertinent information about the school district budget and the levy facts to make an informed decision. In addition, for taking the time to vote and get the ballots in. Sometimes that's half the battle in our busy lives. To our staff and to our parents, thank you for sharing the story of the student experience along with all of the robust opportunities that our students are given and engage in. And to our students who we saw again tonight, thank you for telling our community why these programs, activities, and athletic programs are so important to you and help you grow into the people or the person that you want and hope to be. I also just want to thank our sign waivers, our families and community members, and our businesses who put signs in their yards. Thank you to those of you who have had conversations with your friends, your relatives, your neighbors, your community. And a huge thank you to our small but mighty advocacy team as well. No matter what the outcome of the levy is tonight, we know that we put our best foot forward to have the right outcomes for our students and for our schools. And so I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for all of the work. And we're about a half hour away from finding out how we're doing. So we're excited about that. But before that, we'll move on to our action items and the second read of some policy.
All right, so we don't have any discussion on the agenda tonight, so we're just gonna go straight into the second read and action on policy 5400 and 5643. So do I have a motion to approve the policies presented for the second read?
I move that we approve the policies as presented in their second read.
I second.
All right, it has been moved by Maria and seconded by Miranda. All in favor of adopting the policies that are presented, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
No discussion and aye.
Oh, shoot. Any discussion? Okay, we're good. Motion carries. So thank you, Martin. Superintendent report.
Excellent. Yes, we have some winter athletic amazingness. It's hard to believe that winter athletics are kind of coming to a close. Boys swim and dive became district champs, which is amazing. Girls wrestling will send 2 ladies to state. Boys wrestling are sending 5 wrestlers to state. Bowling placed 8 in state in the 4A tournament, and senior Romley Hirsch was nominated as the athlete of the week for her strong showing at districts. Boys and girls basketball have their final games tonight and Thursday, and spring sports start in March. It's wild. Oh my gosh. February is Career and Technical Education Month. So as we know, Wenatchee School District offers innovative CTE programs starting at middle school that extend pathways to students at Wenatchee High School, Westside High School, and through the Wenatchee Valley Technical Skills Center. And I was just thinking about all the programs that we have, from FFA to FBLA to DECA, all of the acronym programs, but our agricultural programs health science, engineering and design, computer science, business, animal sciences, American Sign Language, and our Air Force Junior ROTC program, just to state a few of those. And then a huge shout out to Pioneer Middle School's Don Wood, who was named our Northeast Region Middle Level Advisor of the Year. So congratulations to Don. And also congratulations to our participants in the Apple Blossom Royalty Pageant this weekend, Queen Ella Johnson, Princess Deja Carlson, and Princess Yasmin Perez. Very, very great. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there this year, but I'll be joining in the next year's coming. So that's my superintendent's report. So thank you. And we'll move on to our board communication.
Maria, you want to start?
Sure. I've had a busy last couple weeks. I want to echo, or just say thank you to our community volunteers, our parents, our staff, our teachers, everyone that had that participated in getting the levy moving. Thank you guys. Every aspect of it. I know we had some amazing community parent volunteers, and our staff as well. Last couple of weeks, I attended quite a bit of few sporting events. Got to do unified basketball. That's always fun. Went to wrestling. Congratulations to the boys and the girls going to state. Attended boys and girls basketball. And during this whole week, actually, I think all these happened on the same week. I got an opportunity to talk to Tammy Giamacon. How do you say your last name? Thank you. And I had never really had engaged in a conversation with her. The work, it was great too, and reassuring to hear the work that the athletic department is doing. It just the simple, I mean, I went into the website. This website looks different. They're talking about moving to different programs, cost savings for the district, simplicity for the parents. There is so much out there. And so I'm just inviting my colleagues on the board to, we're a sports family, but just go out there and show your support for our coaches, for our directors, our coordinators. The work they're doing is amazing, and the lengths of the work they're doing to support the district in our financial state it's amazing what they do. So I just want to say thank you. I'm glad I got to experience all of that in that short week. I also got to attend the Accelerated Pathways meeting at the high school last week. The turnout was amazing. I think from my sources, they didn't know what to expect, the parent turnout. And I was surprised to see that it was a packed house in the Commons. The presentation that they put together was amazing. The high school is doing some really good work. I was impressed. I had a colleague of mine from the college whose granddaughter is at the high school, and we were just blown away. So kudos to that team that did. And then Miranda and I got to volunteer at the talent show one of the nights. I know you guys did the other night, and it's great to see the talent we have in Wenatchee and our students. And then thank you to Pioneer for hosting us for our listening tour.
Martin, you want to go?
I was at family night and kind of almost 2 weeks ago. There was very good attendance, which I think was an anxious time. I think it was very important to be there to show our presence, and I think that was a very effective way of doing it. The enthusiasm around the tables of information was exceptional. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that. People were crowded around in varying ways, and actually, the Avid high cap combo area was amazing. And I'm just going to wave this around. This is actually the Spanish version. It is really, really good. And Diana, I said they should share it with you. And so the English version would be enrichment activities for the family to improve academic, social, and emotional development of students. And it covered all the aspects of learning and at a high level. It was really very, very well done. And this is an example of good work. So that was a good evening, and I was really glad to be there. And then the other thing I was going to comment on is we often talk about major sports. I'm going to talk about one minor sport now that I went to. They were doing the halftime show at the boys basketball, and that's the color guard. And they represent something that I think we need to see the connections and links between what the students do and their coaches and the whole community. I got to know the color guard because they were earning money for their program by doing community service with an organization that I belong to. And so last year in March, I went to the state championships, which was awesome. It was like going to Cirque du Soleil. It was really amazing. Our students did an incredibly creative job, and it was fun. And so I was interested to follow up this year. And so first of all, it's a minor sport. It's great. They do a great job. They're community oriented. They raise money doing that way. And then a plug for Wenatchee, the state championship, I think it's called a championship, state groups from Spokane and the Puget Sound area come over. It was a real showcase for Wenatchee. People came for a weekend. It was incredibly impressive. It'll happen again on the 29th of March this year. So if you want a good Saturday, go along.
So yes, I was with Corey and Martin the first night for the Jance Friends talent show. And so I was expressing that I haven't been to the talent show in quite some time, and to see the talent and how it is broken up in multiple nights is actually really neat. And Maria and I got to be there for the last night, and it was quite a show. I was very impressed with the talent, and the students did a really good job. And kind of to echo what Corey and Maria have said, to thank you to the community, parents and families and the staff for advocating for the levy. Yes, we find out in about a half hour. I think everyone did their part to the best of their ability, and we will soon find out. Also, with Corey mentioning how well our athletic programs are doing, kind of reminder, that's your levy dollars at work. These are students that work really hard and very passionate in the sports that they participate in. And so I'm hoping for a good outcome in all of this. I also wanted to mention something, and I'm unfortunate Julie is not here. In the last couple of months, I've a job opportunity had came up for myself, and I decided to take that. And with sadness, I am stepping down from the board. It wasn't easy. It was really hard. I've had some discussions about it. And I actually transferred to this job beginning of March, but I'll be commuting back and forth from the Tri-Cities to up here. And my last day would probably be the end of March, right before spring break. So I'm really disheartened to share all that, because I know all of us had worked really hard to get to the spot that we're at now, and we're all doing amazing work in our own way. And but I have high optimism and faith that the board will still continue to do that in this upcoming year and with the changes. So I wanted to let you all know that. So, but you'll still be here I'll be here for the next month. So yes.
Well, that's a tough act to follow. I should give you the heads up. I would have gone, then you could have finished. No.
Yeah.
Well, we'll miss you. Well, so you guys did like all the things except for math is cool, but fortunately middle school math is cool. I was there for that, and some familiar faces from the robotics folks. It was great. It was held at the high school. First year we did it at the high school, and it was a little bit chaotic at the start, but like settled in. The students did great, and it was really cool to see people so engaged in math. You know, I think it's a cool opportunity, and it's really great to see all the middle schools represented. And then I was a swimmer, so seeing the boys won the district's competition is pretty cool. They were faster than I was. Including, I looked at the times, I was like, man, I didn't swim that fast in college, so people are getting better. And then wanted to say thank you to all the, like I said, all the levy volunteers. I think, I think we see where that money is going, and it's important that other people help us get that message out. So now I want to say my piece about the facilities committee, because I was going to jump in earlier, but I was like, I'm going to talk at the end. So you guys have to wade through this for just a minute. I would say one of the surprising things that I don't think either of you guys covered was the amount of money we are spending on maintenance of old equipment, as well as trying to jury rig obsolete parts. And so, we don't have a way to fund the capital budget. So we are making do, and we're stretching these things. And, how do we find this thing on eBay that they haven't made in 20 years? And, Brian Brackey was a huge resource in all the conversations, just saying, well, yeah, that part, we make those are custom now. And so, as we talk through what is the most important thing, seeing as the community people mentioned, how do we have smaller bonds per projects? It turns out that there's a lot of those little projects that, we're limping along, and we had the AC blowouts at 5 schools, the start of the school year, all these things that we are making do. And we kind of talk a lot about the high school. And, seeing, I didn't go to school there, and a lot of people were like, yep, this is how it was when I was here. And I was like, really? Huh. So, I think there's a lot of opportunities for improvement at the high school, but, not losing the fact that the whole district is like, the maintenance and operations staff have done a phenomenal job of making these things work. But at some point we have to address the fact that we can't do this forever. We can't limp along forever. And I wanted a big shout out to the PUD for helping us with the LED lights, because that was a consistent, as I toured the facilities last year, and as I talked to principals, I went through and talked to all the principals this year, those kind of things, when you don't have gym lights, like that is a consideration. And so having the PD come in and help us address some of those concerns has been great. And then I want to say one last thing. There's like 75 people on the facilities committee. And I think the max we've seen was like 35 at the very first one. And it dwindled, but also it's people show up randomly. All the information is on the website. Get back engaged. We're going to make some decisions now. So like, shout out to everyone. Come back. Because I think it's really important to have those voices heard, and we've had some good discussions, and I think we will continue to, as we're kind of narrowing down our recommendation to the board, it's really good to have that community input back at the meeting. So that being said, the meeting is adjourned. Done.
Well done.
Come out.
Like it.